Welcome to the world-renowned Invest in Her podcast with your host, Catherine Gray. Catherine is a keynote and TEDx speaker, author, executive producer of the movie Show Her the Money, also CEO and founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. Our weekly show of powerhouse women, founders, funders, and changemakers is sure to inspire you. Let's go.
Welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, as well as executive producer of Show Her the Money. And it's a great topic today. We're going to be talking about women in sports. Who doesn't want to talk about that right now? What a hot topic. So I want to bring to the table the co-founder and managing partner at Tipt Ventures. Let's welcome to the show, Fielding Jameson. Hi, Fielding. How are you? First of all, I love your name.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It served me well. I think I'll keep it. But
Ah,
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's honestly an honor to be here.
yeah. It's such a cool name. I'm sure you get asked all the time. So how did your folks come up with this?
Fielding was a last name of an ancestor on the family tree, and so they took a swing and put it as a first name, and it's served me well over the years.
I love that. My last name is Gray, and I remember my sister was going to call her son Gray, and her
hmm
last name was Higgins. So yeah, that's a popular, cool thing to do. I love that. And so I know you're coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia today. Are you originally from Georgia?
I do say I'm from Georgia, though I like to say I'm a little Yankee, a little y'all. I moved to Atlanta when I was 12, so I spent middle school and high school in Atlanta. I moved from New York, and then went back up north for college. Stayed in New York City for a little over 10 years, and then moved back down here about 3 years ago. So, just little Yankee, little y'all in me.
Yeah, and I'm the same. I grew up like in right outside DC, so Virginia in the South, and then
Mhm.
spent many years in New York. So I have that New York Southern accent like you do.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to talk about women in sports. It seems to be one of the hottest topics of people wanting to invest in this genre, right? And I want to talk about Tipt Ventures, what exactly you invest in, because I know it's kind of like, women in sports, but kind of women in sports adjacent even. So
Right.
let's talk about that. And how did you get the name Tipt?
Ah, yes, the famous kind of naming exercise one has to go through when they launch a company, right?
Yeah,
The name when we were thinking about, well, you know what? I'll start with what Tipped Ventures is, and then I'll explain the name because I think that
that
will be
sounds
most
great.
helpful. So Tipped Ventures is an investment platform focused on investing in the sports economy. What I mean by that is we don't invest in leagues and teams. We invest in all of the amazing businesses that lead up to that moment on the field, and then all of the businesses that keep you engaged after that moment on the field, whether you are a fan, a parent, an athlete on the field, an operator. There is a series of businesses. Those businesses make up what we call the sports economy. We think those businesses can be distilled down into kind of three main areas. It's content, consumer, and enterprise businesses. So that's where we focus. Our edge, our unique lens to that space and to that investing is that we are putting women in the center of that sports economy. We want to invest in building that a sports economy that centers women. And so when you think about previously how the sports economy has been built, it's been a view of putting men as the main audience, right? Again, as the fan, as the athlete, as the operator, as the big money maker, right? It was always kind of driving towards men. We wanted to take a step back and say, wait a second, what happens if we put women in the center? What unique businesses come about? What innovation happens? And all of that newness drives growth, frankly, across all of sports. And so that's really our lens. We look at it from that female centering. the name, of course, the sports economy includes women's sports, and what a time, as you mentioned, to kind of be a part of this. And we've been investing in this space since 2022. My co-founder and I, though Tipt is new in our fund, but we when you look back at what was being written about women's sports, you will see this quote over and over again, and it will say something like, "Women's sports is at a tipping point. NWSL at a tipping point. UEFA EuroLeague at the tipping point." And it was just a lot of language around how women's sports wasn't quite there. It was so close, but not quite. And I think we liked that kind of phrase to say, well, wait a second, like the sports economy for women has tipped. Women's sports has
Love that.
tipped. This is here. And then from a venture perspective, you'll appreciate this. I think that, we also feel like we're tipping the scales by being here. We are the only venture capital group with this focus.
Yeah.
And, I think we feel incredibly excited by the opportunity that we see with women.
I love that perspective. And you're so right. Like, and there would never be success for the women's sports teams if it wasn't for all these adjunct things that you're talking about, the audience building, the fan base building, all of these innovations that help build that make it an invaluable sports economy for women. So tell me some of the types of things that you all invest in or that you've seen that you're excited about.
Sure, absolutely. So our current portfolio company is Ida Sports. They are the first soccer cleat made for the women's foot. And Catherine, we started to look at this company. We found this company in 2020. And I was pretty upset when I first met them because I had played sports my whole life and I had worn a lot of soccer cleats. And I was always shopping in the women's department or the girls' department when I bought those cleats. And it turns out that I was a victim of what is called pink it and shrink it, where they take a men's foot or men's shoe and they shrink it. They put some pinks and purples on it and they call it a women's product. Now, the problem is that with that is that women are not tiny men, right? We are built differently. Our foot is built differently. We have a wider toe box. We have a higher arch. We have a narrower heel. Our hips and the way we move weight is very different. So the way that we cut on the field is different. And when you bring all those factors together, having the right product and specifically the right performance product on your feet can make a difference from everything from break-in time to cleats
Mm.
all the way up to more serious injuries like an ACL tear. And that's something that women experience at 3 times higher rate than men. And
Wow.
so we are, Ida Sports is an incredible company. They make everything from youth sizes all the way up to women. They just released their new Pro Boot. They also just dropped exclusive at the time of this interview with Dick's Sporting Goods, the most beautiful cleat you've ever seen. And that's what I love about this company, right? They don't shy away from the femininity of um, women's sports and being a women out there playing, but they also are putting like the most top-notch performance product out on the field. And 50 plus years into Title IX, we just cannot have women and girls and products that were not made for them because they're playing harder than they ever have, and the competition is greater than it's ever been. So that is a company that we are proud investors of.
Fielding, you really got to get enthusiastic about this.
I know. People always are like, "Oh, we get it."
I
Listen,
love your
this is
enthusiasm. It's
why I'm
great.
constantly love what I do, and I smile the whole time because for me also it's incredibly exciting to think about. Honestly, a young girl going to Dick's Sporting Goods and buying a soccer cleat that fits her foot and that was made for her and makes
Yeah,
her
and Dick's
feel
Sporting
like she
Goods, I
belongs.
believe, is run by a woman, right?
That's right. Yes, the
Yeah,
owner.
so I think
Yes.
that that must be why they have that sensitivity, which is really cool.
They've been
Um,
fantastic and big supporters in that space. And my
that-
co-founder, Ami Galani, comes from Dick's Sporting Goods as well,
oh,
originally.
cool. Well, and then let's talk about like some of the ones that are fan based. Like what's coming out that helps bring that excitement in the fan base? I'm so curious about that.
Absolutely. There's so much happening in the media and content space in general, right? There's a lot of disruption, a lot of mergers, just a lot going on. women engage differently than men do with sports. And I think that's been a really key difference in thinking about the women's sports fans and women fans of men's sports, which is that it isn't actually a one size fits all, right? And so
Right.
we've seen an amazing amount of media companies come out and start to approach how do women want to engage with sports news and how deep do they want to go and what do they want to hear, right? And the reality is a lot of us want to hear the backstories on these athletes because we haven't been told them in the way we want to hear, and or B, they just haven't been told, which is the case for women's athletes, right? So you have companies like Together, who I previously invested in my old firm. They're out there making stories about women athletes. You have The Gist, another media content company talking to female fans specifically. So I'm a big NFL fan, right? But I don't hit ESPN.com. That's not how I like to engage. I don't necessarily need every single stat. And they have an amazing newsletter that's kind of perfect for me to get the tidbits that I need. And then you have Just Women's Sports. They're out there, the first centralized place you could actually get news on women's sports. Believe it or not, that did not exist a couple years ago. So, that's a space that's really exciting, and we think can be unique to a women's fan experience.
And your background is that you've been an athlete, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I see you sit on the board of some lacrosse entities, and
Yes.
so this is like passionate in that this was your background, and you take that expertise into your love of what you're doing, right?
It's absolutely true. And this is actually why my co-founder, Ami Galani, and I make a very good team because I think I have this very lived experience that it's personal for me as well as professional. Ami has no background in playing sports, never played sports growing up, but has actually worked and invested and sat at almost every different seat at the table in sports that you could possibly imagine. And so she's really coming at it from seeing just the gaps in the market, the financial side of this. I'm seeing those too, but then I'm also seeing the lived experience side as well. And so that is where we can make a good team.
And tell me, you led innovation for like NBC Universal, Comcast, RGA Ventures. Tell me a little bit about your background that brought you into this.
Yes, I worked in basically corporate innovation. Ultimately, what that means is working within a very large organization and trying to find pockets where you think you can enact change. And working in the, cable and media industry was an amazing time to think about enacting change because it needed to happen. Everything when I was there from thinking about how are we going to make content for vertical screens, right? Like that was a real thing we were talking about. And so I got a chance to kind of build on amazing platforms, work with a lot of emerging technologies, meet a lot of amazing leaders kind of throughout that. And then a role opened up to build brand new business unit, the first business unit that spanned Comcast and NBC Universal to be the front door for entrepreneurs to engage with our company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know what, honestly, what was happening is a lot of amazing entrepreneurs were building very cool companies, and guess where they wanted to go? Apple, Amazon, Facebook, or now Meta, Google. Comcast NBC wasn't necessarily in that conversation, and we wanted to be in that conversation. We were an innovative organization, and we recognized that we needed to kind of work harder at showing that. And so that's how I built an amazing entrepreneur network because I went out and met with hundreds of entrepreneurs to bring them into our family. Uh,
Yeah, I saw you met with like over 1,000 startups in the course of
oh,
that time. And
yes.
so you kind of were seeing all this cool innovation. So I could see why that led you to wanting to start a venture fund. Because I always think, it's kind of once you dip your toe into understanding how venture works and how you can invest in these early startups, and you see what brilliant innovations are out there, you really do want to step into that arena, right?
That's true. I don't know if I had ever thought I was going to start my own fund, but here we are, right? I think that
Yeah.
when I saw the gap, look, I've operated in a white space my whole life. I am comfortable on the cutting edge. I like newness. I like to be where others are not. That does not scare me. That excites me. And so when I saw this opportunity in the women's sports with women in sports years ago, we jumped on it and then grew it and then looked back and said, you know what? We can spin this out, and this is something that I want to hold and be true to and start, my own thing. And so Ami and I did that together, and that's been very exciting, but not without its challenges, that's for sure, as
Right.
you know, and your film was a great, amazing reminder to people to really show kind of the challenges that can exist from both the
Yeah.
GP side, the fund side, and startup founders.
Yeah, well, let's face it, both are raising money. And what would make it a lot easier is what is the focus of our film, Show Her the Money, is let's get more women educated about how venture works and how they can be a part of it, either as a fund manager or as an investor,
Yes.
making such a tremendous impact on what does the future look like for goods and services. And just as you've said, women need different things in every arena, in sports, in health and wellness. Pick a lane, even fashion. And so women need to be the innovators, and so they need the funding in order to be the innovators. So, there's been such a shift of there being more and more women-founded funds that you really are a trailblazer in this space when you're in that space of starting your own fund like you are. And we need to see more women starting their own funds. So I really applaud you. I know it's not easy. It's not easy to be a fund manager, and it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. But you know what? It shouldn't be so difficult. And with more women than ever coming into, trillions of dollars in the
Yeah.
coming decade, this big transfer of wealth to women, it shouldn't be as hard as it is. And I foresee a future when it's not as hard to raise the funds and to raise money for the entrepreneurs, because there's a power in who's investing. And when we as women become the investors, we are then deciding who gets the money. And that's why the system has been quite broken for a long time. Women have not even been in this space, right?
No,
They haven't, yeah, they
no,
haven't
you're
been the fund
absolutely.
managers and they haven't been the investors. But we can change all that. And that's what's transpiring right now. It's an amazing time in history.
No, absolutely, Catherine. And we talk a lot about this at our fund, which is that we are classified as an emerging manager, which means it is our first fund. It's your technically funds 1 through 3, an emerging manager. We have kind of taken that and said we also have a class of emerging investors that are LPs in our fund. These are
Yes.
women and men, by the way. We have a pretty amazing gender equity split.
Yeah, and we need men to invest in us. And,
Absolutely.
there's that big girl dad thing happening that, men are all behind their daughters now and wanting to see equity in this space. So we love them, we welcome them, but women have to step up to the plate too, is always my point. Yeah.
Yes, no, and that's what we're saying. And so we have some, incredible Ps who knew nothing about venture. And you know what? I think that we are trying to approach venture in a very accessible way. You will not see my co-founder or I get on a pitch and be speaking in a bunch of acronyms or not explaining our thought process behind things. We're very transparent. We
Love
want people
that.
to feel excited, and we want them to feel like they're part of a team, because they are, right? They're part of something bigger, and they're entrusting us with their capital, and we, in return, make them feel like they are really with us along for the ride. And it's interesting when we first talked about that with some other GPs in the venture space. One in particular was like, "Oh, no, 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 no! You don't want to. That should not be part of your pitch. Like, just get the money from your LPs. You do not ever want to hear from them." And we
Oh
were
my
like,
gosh, I can't. I think
"Sure."
women think so differently. Was that a man?
It was a man. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that I think that is the way they approach it. But what I say is exactly what you're saying. And when you invest in the public market, first of all, it's already seen all the profits. Like most of the profits are made in the early stages, right? But we've been left out of knowing that before, prior to this. But also, you'll never meet the founder of someone on the private stock market. I mean, excuse me, the public stock market. But you can meet these founders, and if you have connections or attributes or things that you bring to the table that are going to help those founders that you're investing in, why
Yes,
wouldn't we want the LPs to participate? Of course
exactly right.
we do. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a woman's perspective that's going to pay off really well. Yeah.
We're very good community builders, right?
Yes.
That's been
Yes.
proven time over,
Yeah.
eras. And so I think that's something that we certainly we have and will continue to lean on
Yeah,
in
it's so
our
exciting
opportunity.
seeing us get the momentum in the venture capital world. And it is thanks to women like you that are starting your own funds. I noticed that there's I know you touched on this, but I was reading about the four different things that you invest in because I found it so fascinating. Media and content, tech for fan experience, um, also products that collect data,
Mhm.
and then also uh, companies that are growing um like
And then
audience helping to grow audience.
yeah.
So anybody that has innovations out there like that, I take it you'd like to hear from them. And what is your website?
Yes, our website is tipventures.com. There is a form there that you can
TIPT. Yes.
TIPT, that's right, ventures.com. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there and drop a note. But yes, we really focus media and content, athlete fan experiences, data and analytics, pre-collegiate and collegiate sports, youth sports, really huge area, and then performance and really specifically kind of that's our most gendered category. I would say that performance product that's really going to help her on the field.
I love that. All such great categories, also overlooked. You guys have hit on a great niche here. Really super. Um,
Thank you.
so if you're looking for Fielding on LinkedIn and you're just listening in and can't see the spelling, I'm going to spell it for you. It's Fielding and then Jamieson. You can also find me, Catherine Gray, on LinkedIn, Catherine with a C, Gray with an A. I know there's 100 ways to spell it. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Be sure to check out their website, which is TIPT Ventures.com. You can also check out our movie site, showherthemoneymovie.com if you haven't seen it. And also we have a lot of resources on my website, sheangelinvestors.com. We thank everybody for tuning in. Fielding, thanks for giving a great interview. Love what you're doing, and we're cheering you on.
Thanks so much, Catherine.
Make it a great day, everybody.